Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Addison396. Today we're joined by Gaming with Gygus as always. Say hello, Gygus.
Hello, everybody.
And also, we've got Eric joining us. Eric, also known as Absol89 on Twitter, and we'll obviously link you in the description below. Say hello, Eric.
Hello, thanks
How's
for
it?
having me.
Very welcome. How's it going today?
Yeah, it's going well.
So, just before we get into it, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, how you belong in the Battlefield community, and where you sort of fit in? What sort of, maybe a little bit about your Battlefield taste as well, your Battlefield play style, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so I started playing Battlefield in Bad Company 2 on PC,
Mhm.
and I think I mostly played the single player campaign at that moment. And then I jumped on the BF3 Alpha through one of my contacts.
Uh huh.
So my contact was a QA tester at DICE at the moment.
Oh, that's
So
quite cool.
he was able to get me in there,
That's pretty
Nice.
cool.
Yeah. Is he
and
still
from
there? Or?
no, I think he's moved to another company by now.
Uh,
So he only worked with the BF3 stuff.
Oh, that's a
okay.
shame. That would have been a good contact to have for the future.
Yeah,
So he managed to get you in the alpha pretty early on then, that's quite cool.
yeah. So I played alpha, beta, and of course a lot of the main released game.
Hmm. And how many hours do you think you had roughly in like Battlefield 3, let's say?
Oh my, I don't know. It must be over 300 at least.
Right, okay, yeah. So you're not a Battlefield noob then by any stretch of the
No, I think
term.
I got 500 kills with every primary weapon except the launchers.
Nice. Yeah, that's well, 500 kills with some of those weapons takes a very long time. So yeah. And so you moved on to Battlefield 4 then at the moment?
Yeah, I did. So it basically started with one of the community managers outed an opportunity to come and focus test the game.
Hmm.
So I applied for it since I live quite close to Stockholm.
Yeah.
And at the moment they didn't know that I was planning to do this kind of service stuff. So I just brought it with me
Okay.
to kind of impress them when I visited. So basically they didn't invite me because of the surveys, I think, but I got to participate in the making of the multiplayer trailer because of being in that focus group.
Wow, that's really cool. So, I mean, I guess does it show Absol in the trailer, or is it just like some random name that we would see? But that's really cool. So you're actually one of the players like running around, getting killed or killing people in the
Yeah,
trailer.
exactly. So we had the opportunity to put in our own gamer tag
Oh
in
wow,
the config
okay.
files. So I think my nickname is my battlelog nickname, which is xpc underscore absol. And
Wow.
I was driving one of these jet skis, and I think one of the cameramen he threw a C4 on it and blew it up in midair.
Cool. So were you told to just play, or were you given like certain like tasks to do? Like were you told like stay on the jet ski, roam around, or
Yeah, we had some kind of choreography
yeah,
that we're trying to repeat until we had a nice shot.
yeah, makes
Yeah.
sense. So so you took part in the focus group testing, and I guess because you're known. I came across you with your surveys, and that's where Geiger's I guess has seen you before. You make
Yeah,
these really high quality, really thorough surveys on the sort of Battlefield community, what they sort of how they're feeling at the moment in regards to different topics.
yeah.
And so did you take your stuff along with? I was hearing you say you were taking your surveys along to show
I
them.
brought it with me to show the community manager. You might know Vincent,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
also one of their head of QA employees.
Okay, I guess they were pretty impressed then with obviously your dedication to the series and taking the time and effort to do that.
Yeah, they appreciate the effort and so on. They thought it was a good initiative.
Nice. So I want to go on to your most recent survey, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So it's I like your little notes at the beginning saying, remember that this survey is done independently by one person. What I'll do is I'll just read you a little disclaimer here because it also fits for this podcast as well. So
Yeah.
it was not issued by DICE nor any of the developers. It's used as a constructive way to practice with Excel while helping the Battlefield 4 community voice at the same time. This means there is little to no time nor financial incentive for longer pilot tests. So here's the bit I like. Please think of the results as a reasonable basis of discussion, but do not use them do not use them as undisputable facts to wage war against EA, developers, studios, or employees. So I guess that also fits for this podcast as well. So I thought I'd stick that in. How do you
Yeah.
want to? Do you want to sort of walk us through this? Do you want to take over now and take the reins of the podcast and sort of just walk us through your? I've got it up on screen here, so everybody should be able to see it.
Yeah, I can initialize it a bit. So one of the first things that I thought was interesting is now, way past release, we're having some of these problems, and it could be a good way to measure it in a quantitative way instead of just reading all these forum posts. And
Yeah.
they have
Yeah.
lots of community managers and they work their asses off. You're just reading threads and maybe compiling it into some sort of summaries and listing how many threads on what topics and so on.
Yeah. So this is a good way to, if they've got an idea. Sometimes you could be so lost in a project or something like that that you can't really get a good sense of what other people think of it. And this is a good way to sort of quantitatively, like you said, see what people's thoughts are and opinions are at the moment. Is that right?
Yeah, and also very condensed compared to how many people actually answered this survey. I think it was around 3,000 or 2,000 people.
Yeah, so that's
Nice.
a huge amount. That's
Yep.
they use smaller surveys for advertising on TV, so I'm sure that's a very good satisfactory survey amount.
Yeah. So one of the cool things is actually there's a majority of the players who would rate the state of the game as quite okay as of March.
So we can just see here you gave them a 0 to 5 scale, 0 being unplayable, 5 being fantastic, and I guess like 2 to 3 was the okay scale.
I think 1 is quite bad,
Yeah.
2 is bad, 3 is good, and 4 is quite good.
Okay.
So I think a third of the replies said that it was okay.
Yeah.
3, and then you had a bit of variance. I think the part where people thought it was unplayable to bad was a little bit bigger than the part that said it was fantastic or quite good.
Yeah.
You can see the color scaling and so on in the chart.
Yeah, in the pie chart. Yeah.
But what really strikes me is the negativity that comes around, pre-ordering the game, and also the digital deluxe version, which I bought it for myself.
Right.
And there wasn't such a strong incentive to buy the digital deluxe version if you somehow had access to the beta.
Right.
So if you didn't have access, it was kind of a good way to get into the beta.
Yeah.
But I think it was cheaper to just maybe pre-order the game and get some kind of discounted Medal of Honor code or something.
Yeah. So basically you found that a lot of the people that had pre-ordered and sort of the more hardcore fans, those who had been looking at it before instead of sort of seeing an advert on TV and going out to buy it, those who were sort of anticipating it were the most disappointed.
Yeah, I think so. Especially because they advertised with these promo builds that you saw on E3 and Gamescom.
Yeah,
They were really, really polished
yeah,
during that time compared to what I played in focus testing.
right. I mean, those builds, what we were looking at, I think I'd probably rather have maybe one of those builds now, on especially on certain consoles. So I think they actually look. I know they obviously demo builds for going down a certain corridor on a certain map or something, but
Yeah,
making sure that would work 100% perfectly. But it'd be nice if we had some of those builds now, I think.
yeah, I think so too. The main problem is that usually when they develop these kinds of builds, they do it side by side, so they do not really build upon each other very much,
Yeah, yeah,
since they have different deadlines and so on.
yeah,
So I think that could have been a problem.
that makes sense. Do you want to move on to the player appreciation and the double XP events?
Yeah, sure. So it seems that people didn't really think that this appreciation month or that the double XP events have been that useful, really.
Yeah. A lot of very low, especially for the player appreciation month, very low figures towards the bottom, the
Yeah,
fantastics, and obviously the majority thinking it's uh,
Useless.
okay. Yeah, well the 23% okay, they're not too chuffed with it, and then a very high percent thinking it's useless.
Yeah.
Um, it, obviously useless is a strong. If I was looking at this graph and rating it myself, it's a big
yeah,
step between one and completely useless. So a
Yeah.
17 to go on useless, and again the double XP there. If you look at useless, the one below, it's 28%. That's the majority. The majority of people thought double XP events were useless. What can I get like your two's personal opinion? Because my own is I really didn't rate double XP. By the time they brought that out, I was 100 star. So
yeah.
what was the point for me personally? And player appreciation month, like, what did we get from that again? I can't remember what we got. So
You
it,
got
I think
you
battle
got
pack
the
every day.
yeah battle pack every day.
right.
Monday to Friday was a bronze battle pack, and the Saturday Sundays were silver.
So that was completely useless for me because on Sundays, again being 100 star, I'd get 4 25 XP boosts, and it's
Yeah,
like, well, this is great. So I don't know. What about your opinions?
As you can see, 15% actually thought that double XP events were fantastic. So you have a kind of a spread in the community and in the player base
Yeah,
uh, between those that really need to level up and unlock new stuff,
yeah,
and those that don't, which have already reached max level or already unlocked their most effective guns and so on and setups.
I've just thought. I'm sorry to interrupt. I've just thought of a good point here though. Before I forget, it just
Yeah,
seems like, yeah, I can obviously understand that's my own opinion because of how I'm currently a 100 star, and I can see how it would be useful for those who are lower, and that'd be really really great. If I just got into the game, I'd have a totally different opinion. I'd be like, yeah, I'm loving it. But the thing that doesn't make sense to me logically is you're giving double XP events as like a reward, and the people that have spent the most time in the game putting up with the bugs and putting up with the crap, the people who you want to reward for putting up with it, they're going to be the ones that are the highest rank. They're going to be the ones that are 100 stars. So you're giving the people who have suffered the most something useless. It just doesn't make logical sense to me. Anyway, sorry for interrupting.
yeah, but that's actually a quite valid point because if you look at the overall design of the game and the unlock system and so on, it will cater to the players that don't play as often,
Yeah,
and also this luck-based battle pack uh, unlock system, which
yeah,
comes around I think after 120 kills
yeah.
with a weapon. Uh, there you have luck playing, and maybe if you're going after this 6 times scope for your sniper, if
Good
you're
luck.
lucky, you might get it on
Yeah,
the 120 kills, or you might get it on 280.
Yeah.
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 So
Yeah, it's I didn't like I don't I understand what they're doing with the battle packs and all that, but I've always liked games where you unlocked your sights and whatever, and they just there's so many sights for each gun now, but I'd prefer it if I unlocked it or I had a goal instead of, oh, I really hope I get the 6 times scope or whatever in this one, but no, I didn't. I got the stupid whatever sight that I'll never use,
40 times scope. Woo!
yeah, like
So,
uh,
Geiger's just quickly on Double XP and Appreciation Month.
um I I don't know. I'm kind of torn in between because I did appreciate the fact that they were giving out those battle packs every month and the reasoning behind it, to try to make us happy again by, holding up this little glittery ball. It's like, hey, do you want this? Well, I'll just forget about the fact that the game is kind of screwed up. But
Yeah.
so, but there's a lot of things in there like emblems and pictures for your battle log thing, and which for the Xbox One, I still can't use the emblem, so it's totally useless for me there.
Same.
Um, but I don't know. If for me to do the survey, I'd probably give it a 1 instead of a useless. But
Yeah.
that does, like, if I'm Dice looking at that, that just screams, what did we do wrong, kind of thing, like. But
yeah, I think these player appreciation things are quite catered to and good for people who have put the game down for a few months or a few weeks, and give them some kind of incentive to come back when
Yeah.
there's
yeah,
content and when there's a more stable patch around.
Yeah. That makes
no,
sense.
I knew a couple guys that came back for it, played for a week, and then said, "Nah, I'm going back to whatever." But it did get them back, and it's still like it just needs patching, and well, that's another topic. But um,
So, moving on swiftly to page 2. Independent Battlefield 4 Community Survey Results, March 2014. Would you recommend Battlefield 4 to a friend?
So you see kind of the same pattern as to the first chart here, but there's a bigger amount of people saying that they would strongly disagree with recommending it to friends, and that's where we get into this kind of problem that DICE needs to put up this kind of glittery ball to make people come back because their friends can't make them come back.
yeah,
Yeah. That makes. Yeah. Yeah.
I've seen so many clans just falling away from BF4 and just maybe dropping Battlefield altogether as a team or as a competitive squad, and just maybe either going to BF3 again or just being fed up with waiting for a new game that they can actually play.
I mean, that one for me it's quite tough because I've got friends who are huge gamers and spend hours a week or days gaming, and I've got some gamers some mates who aren't the casual gamers. So I think I would probably recommend it to a casual gamer. I
Yeah.
think the overall experience of a casual game at the moment for Battlefield is not that bad. I don't think they're noticing it anything that much. I speak to people and they don't realize about the kill cam headshot thing. They don't realize about the one hit kill bug and stuff like that. They don't notice it because they're not playing it enough.
yeah.
And it looks really 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 nice. The game looks beautiful. So I think what I would do is, I have mates over mine sometimes, and I show them games. I'd probably show them this, but I'd say to
Yeah.
them, it's hugely buggy, and if you're going to play it a lot, don't buy it. That's probably what I would say at the moment. What about yourself, Geigus and Eric?
Um, I don't know. Like everybody I play with bought it,
Yeah.
so, but um, I would still recommend it to somebody. Like if I knew somebody that was a first person shooter fan but has never played Battlefield, I'd be like, well, go play Battlefield 3 first.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I would still say, yeah, you know what, get it. Like it is a good game when you boil everything away. It's still okay.
Well,
It's but
here's the thing though. So by us saying that, right? By us recommending it, are we not? Are we not like sort of forgiving DICE and EA for all the things that they've done? Are we not sort of saying that's all acceptable? You know, it's worth giving £60, in my opinion, in my case, £60 to them. Because
I
I
think they've discounted the base Battlefield 4 game quite a lot
okay.
the recent
yeah.
months. So I would probably recommend, if you're really into the Battlefield series, you could buy the base game possibly for the next gen consoles or for PC if you don't plan on playing like this high end gameplay.
Yeah, Battlefield 4 here is like it's only like $30 now, which is like half price.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
So,
I suppose I wouldn't recommend it at 60 quid no way in hell. But I suppose it's not that much anymore. So I don't know, 30 quid on mine. I probably
yeah.
would. 40 quid, I'd be like, if you're gonna play it a lot, you be prepared to get annoyed. So, but I
now
Yeah, but
wouldn't.
now
if you compare something like the freshly released Titanfall, it
Oh God,
costs
yeah.
quite a much compared to the base Battlefield game right now. So if I was to pick one of them for someone who is quite new to shooters, then maybe I would say, well, try Battlefield 4 first. If you don't like it, then you didn't lose as much money as if you'd get hammered in Titanfall.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Hmm.
see,
Um.
I'm on the opposite of that. If someone's brand new to shooters, I would say go get Titanfall.
See, I was gonna say that initially, but then Eric's point about the price was just like swayed me right at the end. I was gonna
Yeah,
disagree, like, yeah, I
well,
was like, oh, the price, yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, I think I would
I
recommend Titanfall for someone who likes shooters, but maybe is not as good at that kind of gameplay as they are on something like Assassin's Creed or
Yeah,
some kind of
what
action game. If
the,
they know that they're gonna like the FPS universe, then maybe they can jump on Titanfall and have some fun.
I think like personally, I think like Battlefield 4 is for the advanced shooter people because there's so much going on in that game. If you're brand new, you will be so lost and just dead constantly. Like, but with Titanfall, it's like even brand new people get into it and they have a blast, you know. So
hmm.
like,
Yeah, I was thinking about
I don't think they would have fun in Battlefield 4 as a brand new person.
not as an infantry player, maybe, but you can still jump into tanks and you can
Oh yeah, no,
fly
I'm
around
not.
in
Yeah,
choppers. If you go into the Titan in Titanfall, it's still a first person
yeah,
shooter at that point, and you still move like an infantry, so to speak.
yeah.
I suppose this recommendation also comes on to the next chart below, which platforms you'd recommend for Battlefield 4. Because personally, Xbox 360, there's no way and this goes contrary to what I've been saying as well about I don't see a point to upgrading to the Xbox One. Um, so that is still my general stance. I don't see a point of upgrading yet. There's just not enough games out. But
Yeah,
for the Xbox 360, the game is I would not have released it. I if I was Dice, like I would feel apologetic to everybody who's bought it on 360. I would
Yeah.
give them their money back. Like I obviously wouldn't, but like it's such a terrible build. I don't know
Yeah,
how it is on the PS3. But I went
probably the
on.
same.
Obviously, you guys know about Naval Strike being delayed. I had to go on 360 to play it, and the bottoms of maps not loading up for 4 minutes, and like textures not rendering for the same amount of time. It's just like such a broken game. So
Yeah,
for platform wise, if somebody was on 360, I would never ever recommend it to them. Like never. Um, PlayStation 4 and Xbox One though, it's a different story. So I don't know if you want to go into this graph a bit, Eric.
Yeah, I do that. I think the main reason for releasing it on 360 and PlayStation 3, you had this kind of upgrade program. So if you wanted to play and level up early, you could still transfer that progress onto the next gen systems.
Yep.
So that's a valid point for releasing it and making sure that there's a large installed user base that can buy the game, and then if they decide to upgrade to the full experience by getting a next gen console, they don't they only have to pay like $5 or something, $10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I remember that.
along with the price of the console. Um, but do you?
Yeah, but maybe they were gonna get it anyway,
Yeah,
not just
yeah,
for Battlefield.
yeah. I see that point. Do you think that the cost of that, the cost of the overall game was worth developing on a old gen? So if they hadn't developed for 360 and the PlayStation 4, do you think the Xbox One, the PS4, and the PC desktop version would be a lot better, or is it just marginally better maybe?
I think the core game is fundamentally kind of flawed because they decided to sacrifice uh, so many features just on the basis of them not fitting into the current gen console
Yeah.
era and all their technical limitations. So we had this discussion about the riot shield that's going into the next DLC,
Yeah.
and they couldn't put in a separate animation for a gun holding hand at the side of
Yeah.
this shield because of the older consoles.
Yeah. Well, they were saying that they actually wanted to try and get it in to the Battlefield 3, weren't they?
Yeah.
And the limitations at the time, it doesn't sound like a lot of space, but there's just not enough. Just wasn't enough space for it or processing power.
So I think one of the main problems is that they've been trying to push this consistent Battlefield experience across all the platforms instead of just acknowledging that they could be different in some ways. You could have some kind of different spectator mode or commander solution on PC than you have on consoles.
Yeah.
I mean, most people would be okay with that, except that they'd have to make their advertisements more specific towards different audiences. So I think they're trying to save in on the marketing and just make a flat version across all platforms, and then maybe come back with a stronger Battlefield game in the future.
I think it's hurt them trying to do that.
Yeah, me
Oh
too.
yeah, for sure. Oh, I said that right at the beginning. They should not have made it for Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, which kind of it sucks for them, but they shouldn't have. Like,
So
you spread yourself so thin that we know the outcomes.
So Geigers and Eric and me, we're sat in the Battlefield 4 discussion room, okay, where this meeting is taking place, and we get the decision, okay, and we don't know whether whether the builds are gonna be great, whether they're gonna be shitty, whether they're gonna be like they are now. For all we know, they could be like better than Battlefield 3, okay. Do we make the decision to do 360, or well, old gen or not? For the company and for the franchise for the say we're working at Dice, not EA. Say we're working at Dice, okay?
Right.
What would we decide?
Well, like from a money point of view, yeah, you would want to release it on all of them. But on a technical point of view, you would say no. Let's because the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC version are very like almost exactly the same. People don't argue with graphics because that's a boring conversation, but it's almost exactly the same game. So it doesn't. I don't think it takes a lot to carry it over either way. But so from a technical point of view, you'd say, yeah, let's just build it for these three systems and move forward, and then you don't have to worry about the rest of it. But I don't know. It all depends at like if I'm just a developer, I'd be like, yeah, let's and a gamer, I'd be like, no, let's just make it for the higher like the new gen, I guess.
Hmm.
I think they have this argument about the Frostbite 3 engine being so scalable with the Mantle also,
Yeah,
that you could scale the resolution and so on,
yeah.
and that could possibly be one of the reasons why they thought that, well, we can still make it for these older
Oh yeah.
consoles.
Well,
And you
that's an
could put
yeah.
up quite a lot of sales just by the marketing and uh, releasing it on the most popular console alone, and
Yeah.
that money would make up for all the patchwork that you had to do later.
Yeah. Hmm. But I wonder though whether they obviously I preface that with we don't know how the builds are going to be. Um, Now we have the hindsight of knowing how bad it is. I, I think that would probably change my decision to and no, because I would realize that, well, I don't know, I don't know. It's interesting to see these statistics that you've done in these surveys, because I don't know about how much this will affect their future sales. I think probably the Star Wars game will seal their fate either way.
Yeah.
If
Yeah,
Star
I
Wars is
guess.
bad, then I don't think there's any hope left for them. But if Star Wars is great, then you know.
Well,
Um,
that's what every gamer is saying right now. It's like Battlefront is your last chance.
yeah.
So
Anyway, let's move on to: would you recommend Battlefield 4 Premium to friends? Now I've heard
So
you. I've
we have
heard.
a negative response here.
Yeah, well, I've heard Geiger's actually doing this in like party and stuff live. So, Geiger's, do you want to like go over this?
what do you mean? You've
Like
heard
I've
me.
actually heard people asking you about premium and like saying like should I get it or not, and then I've like heard you responding, and it's been sort of different as it goes along. But you've been sort of saying, if I can remember rightly, sort of like it's not really worth it. You were saying sort of like I don't know. You give me your opinion.
No, don't make me think. For a I don't know, for a Battlefield fan, yes, it is worth it because money wise, like that's my whole thing. I've never understood why people don't want it because it's like, well, you save money, right? Not a lot, but you do, and you're probably going to buy each DLC anyway. But the other argument is, well, I want the right to be able to choose my own DLC. And I'm like, okay, well, fine, whatever. But for the hardcore Battlefield guys, yes, I would recommend it. For a brand new person, I would say, you know what, play the base game first, see if you like it or not, and then decide if you want to keep going. That's, but I can't, so I would be like, I don't know, in the middle.
You'd be
But
in the
depending on, yeah,
for
it depends on who I'm talking to, right? Like, but at the same time, the hardcore Battlefield guy he'd already know.
yeah.
But if he was a hardcore Battlefield guy and then picked up the game today, I don't know. I'd have to say no, just but and tell him why. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, there's a bunch of problems. They're working on these problems. It's coming around, you know. But I'd I'd say play the game first, play the base game, and then go on from there.
Yeah, I would not really recommend getting premium until uh, maybe summer when schools ended and so on, because
Yeah.
you could just play all the content at that point with a better patch,
Yeah.
maybe with the rubber banding gone and so on.
Yeah.
So why
Um.
why just not wait?
Yeah.
Because you'll have quite some time from the summer to the fall when maybe the next game comes out,
Yeah.
and that's quite enough time to play all the DLC anyway.
Well, I've heard Naval Strike has a bunch, like on the Xbox One, has a bunch of rubber banding and lag issues and all that. And
It's just terrible in large player count games.
yeah,
And it's weird as well because it's like it's not as if it's like you know, like normal lag when you get in a server and we talk about lag, like it's not like a set. It's not. Let me think about how to say this properly. It's not. The duration isn't like every 3 seconds you'll get a rubber band, and then every 3 seconds, after you'll get a rubber band, and then 3 seconds. Like that's how it is in Naval Strike. It's really weird. It's like it's almost as if the game's stuttering, but it
Uh
like
huh.
stutters every like so many seconds. It's not like normal lag where you maybe like have a game and then for maybe 2 of those minutes you'll have been lagging, but it's like really random the bits where you'll lag. Like
Yeah.
in server spikes or different things that cause lag. Well, on the Naval Strike maps, this is just what I've experienced on the Xbox One. Um, I'll join a server and the map will like people on the map will be moving around fine. Like I notice sometimes when I'm starting to really lag, the map doesn't move around properly. The little figures on the map, everything seems normal. Everything seems fine. I can fire my guns properly. It's just there's these weird moments where you can't move properly. Your boat sort of goes back and then goes forward. It's just typical rubber banding, but it's like every so many seconds. It's really weird. It's
Yeah.
not typical lag either. Um,
And I was talking to a programmer that he used to do gaming, but it's water, right?
yeah.
Water is one of the hardest things for a
Hell yeah.
GPUs and all that to process. So
It's one of the hardest things to code and
yeah, so
design and
yeah, so that's all these maps are is water, and that's like I don't know.
well, I think there's a like somebody was I was discussing this with somebody or I heard somebody say this. I think there's a fundamental flaw with the Frostbite 3 engine.
Yeah.
Um, and I
No,
think
I think this game is a beta test for Star Wars to test the Battlefield the Frostbite 3 engine. That's my personal opinion. They'll never say that, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
They
It's
must
like
be making quite a lot of money just selling. I mean, the studio must make
yeah,
quite a lot of money selling these engine versions to other studios
yeah,
within the EA branch.
yeah.
So
well that moves on quite nicely to would you recommend pre-ordering a Battlefield game again? So the next Battlefield's gonna come out within the next 2 years. Would you recommend pre-ordering it, or are you gonna pre-order it?
I think there's not really a reason to pre-order it, since as you've seen with Titanfall and Geigers, you mentioned this before, that digital preloading and so on
Yep.
could be quite easy to do in the future, and especially if it was well adopted in Titanfall.
Yeah, the next big thing, like it is on PC now, is like preloading, right? So if we can go back in the past and no digital downloading and all that, like would I pre-order Battlefield 5? No, no, I don't think anybody would now. They would wait. Of course, if everybody waited, then nobody would buy it, and you need to wait to see what the game's going to be like. But even so, now you could ask me, would you preload it? Because it's kind of pre-ordering, I guess. And I'd still say no. So
Well, as you can see from your graph there, it says Eric 58% strongly disagreed that they would recommend
Yeah,
pre-ordering a Battlefield game, and again 58% strongly disagreed about getting the digital Deluxe version, which ties into what we've been saying in the last couple of questions as well. Um, I'm surprised that 4% strongly agreed, to be
yeah.
honest. Um,
well, that's the thing. Like you still have huge fans that no matter what, and you see them on Twitter. It's like, stop complaining about it so much. Blah, blah. If you don't like it, stop playing the game. Well, it's not that easy. We're still big fans of the Battlefield franchise. We're not a big fan of this game, but those people just take it to the extreme and go, I don't care if the background's melting, I still love it. Like, but
those people who just play it on acid and don't notice any
yeah,
difference.
yeah, yeah. Looks
I
alright
think
to
that
me.
yeah, I think that because it's no longer quite an issue to get a hold of your own secured copy, then there's less incentive to actually pre-order the game.
Yeah.
And when we show this to the studios with these kind of statistics, they know that they have to put their budget towards a working release
Yeah.
build instead of putting it towards the marketing, because the marketing will drive these kind of pre-orders. But if the audience knows that oh, we need to secure a working copy of the game instead of just a copy of it, then they'll have to actually show a working build of the game.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
and I
also
don't
through
want
all
to
these
see no.
content creators.
Yeah.
You would
So
I
say.
don't.
there will still be a lot of people picking the game up at day one because they need to
Oh
make
yeah.
videos of it and so on. And
Well, it's
if the game is good, then they will provide the actual good marketing towards that product. So that's where the money needs to go, I think.
I guess.
I was gonna say like Roly the Poly there and his fine video team. They could sell you a freaking piece of chocolate that fell on the ground and been there for a
Yeah.
year. You know, because their videos are just amazing. And so
Man, they would make
s-
that chocolate look so
oh,
appetizing.
I know,
They
and
could
that
zoom in on
you
the
would
dirt on it, and I would be like, that dirt looks so amazing.
you'd give them 100 pounds and say, "Here, give it," you know. But
Yeah.
that's the thing. That's what happened with Naval Strike. You know, like everybody saw the videos. They're like, "Oh, that game
Ah,
looks
that's
so
so good.
awesome. I want
Yeah.
to play right now." And then they
Yeah.
play, and then they're like, "What the hell?"
Yeah.
But
And then
but
you
like you
play it
said,
and there's no ending cinematic.
Oh
yeah,
no.
yeah.
Well,
But and
we're
then
gonna. I'm gonna go into that in a bit because I want a huge rant on Naval Strike. Anyway,
and,
but I just wanted to point out your next survey just very quickly because you were talking about this about 2 or 3 minutes ago about them doing surveys. It seems like if you look at the next one, 66% strongly agree that DICE should do similar surveys in the future, and it seems so again logical for them to do that because as you were saying, it gets them. It just gives them an idea of what people want and how they're gonna get the money in, because that's how they get the money in, giving people what they want basically, and 66% strongly agree that they would like to give DICE their opinion basically in the future.
Yeah.
well, I told Vincent this before that they should hire Eric. You know, like because nobody at Dice is doing this.
Yeah.
You know, like all they do, they ask one question, like, "What's your favorite map?"
That's what I was gonna say. Sorry, I had a
And then
bit
you
more to say this.
and th-
Just
and then you get 10 million responses of
yeah.
"Fix your game." You know,
There's all the surveys that they've done at the moment. They're not surveys. That is PR. It's which are you most looking forward to? This thing that we're
Yeah.
putting in the game. This thing that we're putting in the game. This thing that we're putting in the game. This thing that we're putting in the game. Click on this link to view it. Oh, and then at like the bottom of the link, it's like buy premium now to get all of this shit that we've just advertised to you. That's not a
Yeah.
survey. That's not a survey finding out what
No.
people want or like or, you know.
Yeah.
Yes, I asked Vincent about this like half a year ago, and he said that they don't really use these catalog polls for actual input into the development
I'd be
process.
surprised if they did.
These regular
Yeah.
Battlelog, what's your favorite polls? But I think the ones that they did in the balance blog,
Yeah.
they've used that kind of data. But on the other hand, those polls and questions were not really that clear. I think they gave a lot of leeway when it comes to letting the studio make their own choices and have authority on the kind of build that they want to make and that they want to afford to make and so on. So I think the main reason why many game studios don't do these kind of surveys is because if they do it openly, then most likely they will have to present the result publicly too, and then people will hold them accountable for doing things that are not in line with these kind of surveys. But if they just take it in and don't acknowledge it outwards, then they can do whatever they want with it and still
Right.
have the intel.
Yeah, because like I guess if you ask like a basic, do you like this weapon, and majority of the people said no, and the weapon stayed, then it'd be like, well, you're not listening to us.
Yeah,
'Cause
exactly.
so,
But
but they don't want
there
to
might
take it out
be,
either. So
yeah, there might be like 5,000 people or less that know that this survey has gone into DICE, and there's millions of people who don't
yeah.
know about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, and that's the same with these surveys and a lot of things. And I think the majority of people that did your survey are like PC players. And so, do you listen to the PC crowd? You know, like personally, that's a big question with me. But like, but do they speak for everybody? No, they don't. So
It's actually mainly the Reddit community.
Yeah,
yeah,
70%. 70% found your survey through the Reddit community, didn't they?
Yeah,
yeah.
And
But
if you look
that's
at,
I mean, they're probably and majority of them are PC players.
so if we, because what I want to do now is, I do want to leave some of these surveys for people to look at themselves. I've been scrolling up and down so that people can see the different questions. But
yeah.
I want to say maybe pick three each, and you'll see what I'm talking about in a second. But if you look down the list, you'll see a lot of different titles. Which of these DMR changes do you agree with? Which shotgun attributes do you agree with? And underneath you'll see the current frag damage, the current bookshot damage. So I want each of you to pick like three of those that you really want to discuss. Maybe something that you really agree with the community on, or you're really frustrated DICE haven't listened to. Just pick three of those little tiny little things that you want to discuss through. And
Okay.
I'll start us off just really quickly. For example,
I can just start by summarizing that
yeah.
these kind of balance polls that are following here are actually trying to measure all of the things that they talked about in their balance blog, but with a poll.
Yeah.
So we could just pick some small, interesting snippets of these that really stand out. So maybe first we can talk about these revolver trigger delay and so on.
Oh yeah.
If you think it's really necessary to have it in a video game, or if
So
it just hampers them.
I want instant revolver triggers instead. 1,197 agreed and 1,109 disagreed. So that's a very split one. Personally, I want instant revolver triggers, and I wouldn't mind the delay on um, the I wouldn't mind the I wouldn't mind the amount of time just after you fired that you're not allowed to shoot again because he's cocking the pin, or he's the rotation of the barrels going round. I wouldn't mind that. But I want it like as soon as I fire my first shot and as soon as that animation is done, I want as soon as I press the trigger, his finger to press the trigger, and I want the pin to hit. I want that to be instant, basically. Is that kind of what would I be in the agree percent bit there?
Yeah, I think so. That would resemble almost like a bolt action pistol.
Yeah.
In the Battlefield way of handling.
Yeah, basically like the I just like the way I might be wrong with this. Isn't that the way that the Magnum worked in say Battlefield 3?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I much preferred it in Battlefield 3 to Battlefield 4. What about you two? What about you guys?
Well, how is it now? Like, as soon as when you pull it out, there's a delay, or
So Eric, do you want to explain it? You probably can give a more detailed. I know how it is now roughly, but do you want to give
so
a very technical?
they tried to emulate this kind of dual action trigger pull that is longer than a single action. That's more commonly seen on semi-automatic slide pistols and so on. So
it's just because it's powerful, I guess.
Well,
yeah.
It's it's a balance thing.
Yeah.
But basically,
my point is that this kind of added layer of balance was not really needed.
Yeah.
Because it worked in Battlefield 3. So why wouldn't they change it?
I think. Well, I don't know. I'm gonna be. I'm gonna play devil's advocate here, because in Battlefield 3 and even 2, everybody went to the Magnum and the Rex, right? And that's pretty much all you saw. And in 1911, I guess, and all the other pistols, you never really saw anybody using them.
93R.
Well, 93R, yeah.
Yeah.
But so yeah, all you saw was 93Rs and Magnums, pretty much, really. And so to get away from that you'd put that little delay in there to make people say, you know what, I want to use one of these other pistols, and that's probably why they did it. But
Well, to counter your devil's advocate argument,
I'm not. But I'm saying, well, I don't think. But really, I don't think that, like, if it doesn't exist in real life, then it doesn't exist in the game. That's my thing.
I think that they could have easily balanced it, and they could make them worse without making them stupid. And I think they had the idea already. You just delay the animation that as soon as you fire the gun recoils, it pulls up, comes down again. You've got to pull the pin back. You just make that time longer, before you can fire your next shot. You'll still have an instant revolver trigger, I think, because with a normal Magnum, if you're pulling that trigger before the pin's back, you wouldn't be able to fire anyway. So you just make that animation time a lot longer, or not a lot longer, say, I don't know, 50% longer, and you then got 50% extra time you've got to wait between Magnum shots. You're not going to want to use them as much. Just like people don't want to use bolt action snipers in close quarters, because if they miss that first shot, there's such a huge time between the next one. So
yeah, so I don't really agree with having a lower fire rate cap, but the recenter time. If you look at someone who's actually shooting one of these revolvers, they will have quite a long recenter time because the recoil is so.
See,
so
that makes
harsh.
sense. Yeah, I didn't think about that either.
That goes in line with what you just said.
Yeah, that
make it recenter slower, and you could still shoot competitively fast, but
see, that makes even more sense. Yeah, that makes real life sense as well. I know a lot of I know there's a huge argument between, is this game supposed to be a simulation, and they've never claimed it's simulation, but they've always gone for a realistic look, and it's always like 50-50 on whether it's supposed to be realistic or not. Yeah. But I think going along the lines of realism is always better than not, personally.
Yeah.
Even if you're not trying to make a perfectly realistic game.
The only problem is, like, you're wanting to add new animations into specific weapons and whatever. The last thing this game needs is more animations added. So, because then now you'd have somebody crash every time they fired the Magnum. So I don't know.
Yes, I think all these upcoming class weapon stuff, you could basically just say that there were some inconsistencies in all these DMR changes that made the Ace 53 sniper variant, it had this ammo advantage, and in all the other areas it was quite average compared to all the others. So you could basically have the same DMR but with 6 more shots.
Wow.
And many people disagreed with that kind of advantage.
Personally, I have no idea what the fuck's going on with DMRs, because I have not used them. I think I've got about 10 kills maybe with them, and I don't know what is going on with them. I just hate them. I don't like using them. I feel like a noob if I spam the trigger constantly. Like, why? Oh, I don't like them, so I'm gonna.
Well, that's the thing. Like, and that weapon and that weapon, all of the weapons, is one of the biggest argument with the hardcore Battlefield guys. Is like, we hate them because that's all you hear is that pew 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 pew
Oh my
pew,
God,
pew,
yeah.
and it's just like maybe 1 bullet out of 10 hits you, and it's like, ugh.
And then you've got a 2.3 DMR headshot multiplier.
Yeah, imagine if the suppression was still in the game.
Oh my god.
Like it would be a big blur the whole time you're playing. And I think that like Battlefield players in general don't like them just because of that, like the rate of fire and the whatever. But then there's people that use them, and there's a lot of them that love them. So if any argument for Battlefield right there, and the people that play it, that's right there in a nutshell, is because you got all these players and the way people play these days, they look for the every little advantage they can, and
Yeah.
DMR is right up their alley, right?
So that's the
So
main difference between, I think, Battlefield and the other shooters that mainly revolve around flinching mechanics when you actually get hit. But suppression, it rewards players that don't hit you
yeah,
with some kind of intimidating effect.
yeah. No,
So
and
I'd much rather
that
see that the suppression stacked up if you got hit multiple times, maybe at range.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I would love. I'd like it if you can have the suppression, have the effect and all that, but not get any points for it.
Well, I heard yesterday, people talking in game chat, a noob talking about to his mate, and his mate was giving him tips, and his mate was like, his mate had obviously put him on the console, and his mate was like, yeah, if you get the first shot off right, you can just start spamming them, and then because they've got suppressed, right, they'll be firing at you, but the bullets will go everywhere, and they won't be able to hit you. It's literally a
Yeah.
tactic that he was like trying to teach to his mate,
Uh huh.
and it's
Yeah, that's the way it actually works, and that's maybe DICE's way of catering to console players that maybe don't have that first accurate shot.
yeah.
But on the other hand, people just go around and abuse it the other way instead.
Uh huh.
So if we move on, one thing that I found really interesting on the shotgun attributes, do you agree
Yeah.
with chart? The damage. Do you want to just walk us through the damage for the obviously the slug, the fried, the flesh? I can't say that word, and the buckshot. I can say it in my head. I know how it's pronounced in my head. I just can't get it out of my mouth.
Yeah, so the flechette rounds, people were happy with the current damage model for them, but not with the slug damage and the frag damage, and somewhat not with the buckshot damage either. But
Yeah.
they're trying to fix that with the current nerf to the defensive
So
perk, I think.
personally, like I don't know I don't know. I can see that they obviously disagree here, but I don't know which way. I think they're too weak. Is that the way that is that do they agree with me, the community, or is that because I've tried to bookshot and slug people where in Battlefield 3 I would have easily taken them down, and I've had to put
Yeah.
2 or 3 shots into them before. Now, sorry.
Yeah, so on this question, if there's a lot of red, then they think that's too weak, I think.
Okay.
And if it's more blue, then they think it's fine.
Okay. So yeah, they agree then. What do you?
So flechette is fine because it counters the defensive perk.
Yeah. So it's the defensive perk then that's really sort of screwing people up then.
Yeah, I think that was a very big mistake. And I don't know if Alan Kurtz is the one responsible for it, but he initially said that it would only affect things like shotgun slugs and bolt action rifles. And then I thought, well, maybe it removes that extra multiplier that you had in BF3, you know, with 1.25 or something.
You can check it on
then
Synthex.
just went around and flattened all these multipliers to 1 and increased the damage instead. And then they left all the DMRs at damage level that was more suited to the previous model that they discarded.
Well, I feel like buckshot to me is fine because I could go around with an 870 and just own everybody in the way you're supposed to. But when I put the slugs on, it's like there's no difference, and you're supposed to be able to do almost the same damage as you would with buckshot close as you would to a guy
Well, it's a
a
slug,
little
isn't
far.
it? It's
Yeah,
like a
like a
huge,
little.
it's like a mini cannon round going into his
Yeah.
fucking head or his stomach. You're supposed to one shot him.
But I'm saying
The
like if a guy's standing right in front of me with and I'm using buckshot and I shoot him and he dies just
yeah,
the way it's supposed to be.
yeah.
But if the guy's standing, 20 feet away and I shoot him with buckshot, yeah, the damage will be weaker. But if I
Yeah.
was using a slug, then that guy should die.
Yeah.
With one shot, maybe, and then you can go
Well,
distance there. But there's
it's
like it's like you shoot him and he's like, oh, I'm only down to like 25, or I only lost 25% health, and you're like, what?
it doesn't make sense how they've modeled it logically, because with a slug it's one thing that's coming out of the barrel. Um with the other rounds, it's basically loads of little tiny pellets, right? So if
Right.
you shoot somebody long range with loads of little tiny pellets, only a few of them are going to go in. So that makes sense, right? That you're doing a little
Yeah.
amount of damage. Now, if I shoot somebody with a huge, massive mini cannon thing, a huge slug round, even if it's going a bit slower, right? Because that's what they've done it on. They've said, oh, it's going slower at range, so the damage is less. No, if I shoot somebody with that and it's going fast enough, it's gonna fucking kill them, right?
Yeah.
What they did in Battlefield 3 was they did, inside the little circle, basically when you're not aiming down sights, you get a little circle. Now, if you imagine that circle's there when you're aiming down sights, but it's a little bit smaller,
Yeah.
basically your slug will go anywhere in that circle. So you've got to try and aim it so that the majority of the circle is covered by the person. You're more likely to hit them with your slug and get you one hit kill, right? They've
Right.
not. It's as if they've totally got rid of that idea anymore. They've totally ignored the logic of how of the specific type of ammo that you're putting in the gun, and they've just modelled it on distance away or something, and it doesn't make sense logically anymore. Or that's how it feels to me anyway.
Yep. No, I think we're all in agreement there.
Cool. Do you want to point out one that we can all focus and have a look at?
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
I've been just kind of.
Growling.
You want to fight about helicopters for a while?
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah.
Whereabouts are these? Attack helis.
Page
Page 8.
9.
Page 9. General air changes.
It's page 8. If you look at the bottom of the page.
Yeah. So we're on page 8. Which attack heli changes do you agree with? Is that the one you're on about Geiger's?
Yeah, mine says it's page 9 though. That's weird.
It's Canada for you.
Yeah, metric.
So which one do you want to look at?
Just the attack helicopter. I know it's a big, it's a touchy subject with everybody.
Yeah. No, I've
Um,
seen people that I like respond in very logical ways to certain arguments. I'm not going to name names, but I've seen the argument. It basically goes like this: attack helis are now shit. Person logically responds with a video showing them owning in the heli and showing them doing a certain tactic. And usually the tactic goes along something along the lines of, um, I'm staying behind my base quite often, a lot more. I'm getting out and repairing, and I'm talking to somebody a lot, quite very, very often. And the basic counter argument is, if you look at how helis were in Battlefield 3, you can see that there was the perfect balance there, and the rate that you're having to get out and repair, the rate that you're having to sit behind a mountain in your base or behind the one or two buildings on the map.
yeah,
They'll often point to certain maps as well. That's a point that they'll bring up in their argument. Oh, well, there are certain maps with buildings and good cover. Well, if you look at those maps compared to Battlefield 3, there's no cover. There's no cover. I might make a video and go on the specific maps and go and point them out. But there's literally no cover, in my opinion. So I think there are some logical counter arguments to it, but if you then look at it in more detail, yes, you can survive and still own it around, and you can go all around without dying. I've done it quite often, but the amount of how unfun that is, and the process has changed so much, and how it's just not skillful anymore. Like there's no point going out into the middle of the map because you are going to die, 100%. It's not a. It's not a. It's not the skillful thing now is making the decision to be a noob and sit in your base. That's the skillful decision. It's a decision now. It's not maneuvers or tactics, because you can do the perfect maneuvers around, I don't know, Dawnbreaker. You can do the perfect tactics, and you're fucked by not having below radar. You'll go around the corner, and there's two people that will spawn in with stiggers, and you're fucked. You can't do it, in my opinion. So that's my little rant on attack helis.
Yeah, you pretty much summed everything up. But I think like the main problem now is, I think, well, because we're mainly like we were 360 players going on to, and so it's only 12 on 12 there, and that's where they took away the second flare and all that, just to take them down. And lessons were learned from Bad Company too.
Yeah.
Because if you got a really good pilot in Bad Company too, they just stayed in the helicopter above the base, going around and around in circles and destroying you.
Yep.
So yes, something had to be done, and so Battlefield 3 brought in stingers and iglas, right?
Yeah.
And if you had a really good pilot gunner combo, you could stay in the air long because you each had a flare and all that. But still, a good squad, and I've had part of me and Vanquish and all and you and all we would take them down.
Yeah.
Right. But you'd have to arm the Igla, and then you're not shooting tanks anymore. You're shooting this thing, and
Yeah.
but still.
Well, there'd be points where we wouldn't be able to take them down with certain tactics, right? We would have to know advanced tactics. We'd have to resort to laser designating if they were constantly below radaring, okay? We'd have to resort to these things that require skill and require knowledge and require teamwork and more than one person. We'd have to resort to those things. Now, one person can die, spawn back in, and take a heli out. One person.
Well, that's what I was getting at. It's like, Battlefield as a whole, to me, has gone away from the teamwork thing to now the individual. But that's another thing too. But yeah, so now we're at the point where every map, and because now every Conquest game is 32 on 32. Well, for us anyway, 360 is still the same. But so yeah, everybody has a stinger now. So there, like you watch it, sometimes there's like 10 stingers flying at the guy.
Yeah.
And you got the anti-aircraft on every map, the anti-aircraft vehicle. And now they're coming out with these anti-aircraft mines. Well, if you place them properly, they can't do nothing, like it's like, so you've gone from a game, gone back to like Bad Company 1, or even, I don't know, probably Battlefield 1942. Well, they didn't have helicopters there, but you've gone from a game where the helicopter was one of the most loved vehicles to one of the most hated.
Yeah.
And not by the guys that are shooting them, by the guys that used to like fly them.
Yeah.
Because I would like, even Bad Company 2 and Battlefield 3 would be like, yeah, I'm in the helicopter, I love it. Now it's like, no, I don't even want to spawn in there.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm gonna die 5 seconds into the battle. So
I don't see what's wrong with basing a helicopter model on. Fine, you're gonna give everybody on the map a stinger and unlimited ammo with the ammo boxes, right? Okay, fine. Give helis the ability to flare like they can flare in real life when everybody on the ground has a fucking stinger, and give them the ability to flare off and then flare off again and flare off again, so that they have to resort to those skillful things again. I know it sounds like it's newbie for the heli pilot, but why do you think helis have the ability to flare and flare and flare? Like, it's because they're going into hot zones like that. So if you're going to make it where everybody has the ability to instantly take out a heli, why would you ever get in a heli unless you have the ability to countermeasure that?
Well, yeah, and that's what brings it. It'll come around in a big full circle, to the point where DICE will realize that people aren't using the helicopters anymore, so they'll give them another flare, or they'll give them unlimited flares, and it's like, well, now you're right back to where we were before.
Yeah.
So
I think a good solution to this problem would be to consider flares the same way as they did with the TV missiles. So you had maybe 1, 2, 3 flares, but they reload so slow that you can maybe fire off 1 or 2
Yeah.
while you're doing a strafe, and then you have to retreat for a bit to reload.
Well, I'm just talking about. I'm thinking of all these timings that I'm thinking about the reloads and stuff like that. I'm trying to think of when somebody starts locking onto me and I'm running away already towards my base. I don't have enough time to do anything. I can fly straight. I'm not like disengaging and then trying to fly away. I'm talking about when I'm flying towards my base and somebody's locking onto me and I ECM, and then or maybe I flare. They've sent one off and I flare. Either way, and then my countermeasures have gone, and then somebody else manages to take me out, and I'm not engaging. All I'm trying to do is fly away, get behind the mountain or something. Like, if they had those free fire system like what you were talking about, maybe we would be able to get away then. Never mind engage and get away. We might be able to fucking get away then. Well, I don't know. I just
So there's where they flattened the attack helicopter. They're trying to compensate it for it now by making the timers shorter.
Yeah.
But that's
I
it's
still
a
think it won't really work because there's too much delay in the netcode for all these missiles and blocks.
Yeah. And why the hell did they get rid of low radar? Why? Like, why?
Because
Yeah.
they thought it was too unintuitive to explain to the other players,
Oh my god.
or it's complicated to code with
That's
the
bullshit.
varying landscape.
That's
Yeah.
bullshit. Because that's like, well,
No, well, that's the thing. Like, even if you gave them unlimited flares right now and a reload time of 5 seconds, those things would still come out of the sky like nothing, because you would see
yeah.
stinger after stinger after stinger just take it down.
Well,
Like,
that's what I was trying
which
to say. I don't even know if you'd have enough time to get away. You might.
yeah, I don't know. It's
I think the most interesting
Go on,
I
Eric.
liked it.
thing
I liked
about
it in
this
Battlefield
is,
3. So.
yeah, me too, is that for the mobile AA, they've catered so much to this idea that one person of the team is going to have really fun by exploding helicopters all day, and
Yeah.
the same goes for infantry. That they should be able to, even with just 12 players on the team, they should be able to have fun, take out the helicopter maybe once every other minute. But on the other hand, when it comes to the attack helicopter, they're saying that, oh, this person is not allowed to have fun, even
Yeah.
though they are two people instead of just one man.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Well,
it seems a lot of stuff like that is happening in Battlefield these days. They don't want. I don't know. It's. I can't. You can't say they don't want people having fun, because they cater to a lot of, like, a certain type of gamer. You know, like, obviously they
Begun
cater to
to
the
relate
snipers.
having fun to blowing up the attack helicopter.
Yeah, obviously they cater to snipers. So somebody that works at Dice really loves that. But but yeah, like, people have complained, and it's not a huge. I don't think it's a huge majority of the people complaining about the helicopters. It's just, they're the vocal majority. Like, where everybody else is just having fun and whatever. Then there's this loud crowd that's like, I hate these things because they're always shooting me because I'm sniping and I'm always on a building and they're always killing me and I don't like that. Like, we have to find a way to shoot these things down. So now they've gone the total opposite way of like, okay, well, we'll just make sure that the helicopter lasts 5 seconds, and then, because it's true, you can't now, like, you can't fly anywhere. Like, you come into the battle and you're getting locked on. You're like, it just took off. Like, give me a break here. So, but yeah, so now you see guys with TV missiles and stuff just firing from their base. It's like, oh, I'm not going out there. Screw that. It's enough of that.
So I want to move on to which issues do you still have a problem with? So,
Yeah, the big list.
Eric,
Right.
do you want to talk us through this?
Yeah, sure. So, what are the most outstanding problems here. We have dying around corners, dying instantly, hitbox problems, rubber banding, latency, some sound problems. Maybe that was before, when the sound used to cut out
Yeah,
in certain
Yeah.
game modes.
with
Then we
certain
have
weapons as well.
team balance problems, stuttering frame rate, crashes in unspecific scenarios.
So if it's a small blue box, does that mean that they're having a problem with it or not with it? Or like it's
Not.
not a big problem, so it's not really a big problem. Okay, so mouse and controller preset problems, they're basically non-existent, and
Yeah.
dying around corners is a huge, huge problem.
Oh yeah.
So we had this kind of netcode question also, where many people are experiencing packet loss, and
Yep.
often because of the server rather than their individual connection.
Yeah, I mean, I check my connection and I can get it down to 0 packet loss. Well, I know it's not 0 technically, but the Xbox is telling me it's 0 packet loss. And then I'll get into a server and I'll check it on the PC and it's like, what? It's just mental how much it affects my game, and I can visually see it as well.
Yeah, so I don't think that the actual packet might be getting lost, but instead that it might be desynchronized too much from the overall order that they were supposed to come in,
Right.
and then the client or the server just discards them because they're out of order.
Right. Wow. Okay.
That's my kind of theory on it. And
Yeah.
Can I just check? Would it automatically discard them? Is that what they would preset it to?
yes, so they might not actually be getting lost. They might just be mishandled and be arriving in the wrong order.
Yeah.
Because the server is under a lot of stress.
I'm just asking then though, you were theorizing that it would discard them. Can I just check, is that the normal process or is that something that DICE would
That's the actual normal process in most network protocols, I think.
Okay.
At least with the UDP.
Yep. Okay. So let's just check them personally from your guys' personal opinions. Which of these do you agree with, and which ones do you not really seem to be suffering from?
Well, my big one is getting shot around corners. I could almost deal with getting insta-killed, like now. Well, before they had the headshot symbol come up, that's why you knew it was an insta-kill. I got really mad at it, but then now they put that up, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm still upset, but at least I know why. But yeah. A headshot to me, if you're 5 feet away from a guy and you get a headshot, even with an assault rifle, to me, I think you should die anyway. But because it is a multiplier of 2, right, on most of them, which would be like 60%
well, a bullet
of
to
your
the
health.
Head from anything, from any range, is
it's
to death, right? In real life.
Yeah.
So let's just say there's an argument that you could say that, like, for anything from any
Yeah.
range, right?
So I'm almost okay with it, but yeah, like if you go by what the game's designed to do, it's supposed to be only 60%, but the chance of they're always firing an automatic weapon, so the first bullet's going to go in your brain, and the second bullet's going to finish you off. Like,
I just find it annoying when, because I want to know if I've been headshotted or not. And I don't want to know if I've been obviously I want to know if I've been insta-killed, but I'd rather know if, like, the guy took me out skillfully or whether I got insta-killed.
Yeah, well, that's what that little headshot symbol is for. Now you know you've been insta-killed because it says.
I know, but I'd rather, but I can't tell now whether he insta-killed me or whether he headshotted me.
Oh, I get what you mean, yeah.
Yeah, so.
No, it's still annoying though. You still know it happened. Like you come around the corner and you're like dead instantly.
Yeah. Then you know, obviously.
But yeah, but that's a big issue. And going around corners, that's like in almost every game. That's bullet lag, right, or whatever. But
especially with snipers, like I want to know if they've like one-shotted me in my leg and it's giving me the headshot symbol saying that they skillfully killed me, or whether they've actually skillfully headshotted me from 200 meters away. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, yeah,
So,
because for all you know, you got hit in the shoulder and you got
oh, I
insta
hit in the
killed.
fucking toe or something. Fuck you.
Yeah, yeah. But
Yeah, so
the huge problem is the going around corners, going
Oh
behind
god, yeah,
rocks, going around tanks, and you're still bullets are still going into you. Like
yeah, yeah.
it does happen on other in other games, but this game has been it's horrible. Like you'd be like 10 feet down the corner around the wall, gone, and you're still
I've
getting
turned
hit. You know?
around, looked at where I was stood, bullets are still flying there, and my health is still going down, and I've died. Like, that's how bad
Yeah,
it is.
yeah.
It's like, what the fuck?
so the current problems I'm having on my PC build is mostly, I think, team balancing problems and
Oh, really?
also
Okay.
dying around corners, of course, and instantly,
Okay.
and not so much, rubber banding, but there's still some very unoptimized areas where
Right.
my frame rate will just drop to like 40 from 80, 90.
How have
Yeah.
So
they? How is your PC with the Levolution? Is it just certain areas that are like you're having like areas of the map, or is it still like every time Levolution hits on a certain map?
it's not even the evolution, it's mostly related to, I think, particle effects and smoke.
Right.
So
Okay.
when you go around the burning cars on Siege of Shanghai, the
Right.
frame rate drops, and when you go to the center of the flood zone, the rooftops, there's just
Right.
so many meshes around there, so the frame rate kind of drops because of that.
I,
Or
I can imagine
there's some kind
Metro
of
with
smoke everywhere.
yeah, I can imagine Metro with all the explosives going off. Little locker.
I think Metro is pretty well optimized for
Oh,
at least
okay.
my PC.
Okay. So you're not. So you're having. See, I don't have any. I suppose I don't really notice it as much. Any problems with team balance? But I have
Uh,
again. I have huge rubber banding problems. So you're not having problems with that?
I used to have it in BF3, but that was around the Aftermath DLC, I think.
Right.
Then they fixed it.
Okay. And it's been good since then.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Okay. See, I have huge. Do you have issues with rubber banding, I guess?
Not. I have a bigger problem with stuttering than rubber banding. When it happens, the rubber banding, it happens to everybody. So not
Really?
just me. Like when it's happening, like everybody's going, "Holy crap,
Oh.
what's going on?" You know.
Okay.
Yeah,
So I think like your problem is a little different because just of your internet, but
Well, see, uh, for the last I don't know month, I've been majority with a wired super fast connection. So, and I've
yeah.
still had
okay.
these issues. So, since I've been every single game I've had on Naval Strike, I've had a wired fast connection, and I get huge issues with it. And I'm starting to see that yeah, some of my issues were sort of the amount of times I get them in a map was maybe multiplied by two compared to other people because of my internet type. But here
Yeah.
I'm still getting those issues. They're just less frequent, but I'm still getting them. And there's also like when I go onto Naval Strike, which I've not tried on my mobile yet, my mobile internet. That's worse than when I was playing on the worst internet I had. And it's I know they rushed it out, and it's obviously like the first playable build that they
Yeah,
had, but
but where are your servers? Are they just in Sweden or?
I mostly play on servers with kind of 35 to 40 ping. I think they're mostly in Germany
so the
because then many players from all around Europe can connect to them.
yeah.
But we have some Swedish servers, and
Yeah.
the only
No,
times
but I'm
where
like majority of European servers are based where? In Germany?
I think they're in Germany.
Yeah, so
I'm
that's
getting
that could be a little
16.
bit of a problem
Well,
there.
I'm getting 16 milliseconds ping here.
Yeah.
So, and
That's that's not very good. I'm like for Titanfall, I'm getting 30.
no, you want lower Geigers.
I know.
Right.
I
Okay.
said I'm getting 30, and I'm like, you should be getting like 30, not 60.
No, 16. One
Oh,
six.
16.
Yes.
Oh, well then I don't know. I have no argument then.
So Yeah, and that like every single problem I've ever had on Naval Strike has been with 16 milliseconds of ping.
You're sure you're rubber banding and not stuttering?
No, I'm rubber banding. I'm stuttering as well, but I'm
Yeah.
rubber banding really, really bad.
Stuttering's pretty bad, and it is one thing, and you almost expect it. You know, it's like, oh, the building's falling down. Well, you start to stutter a little bit and whatever. It's a lot worse on the 360 than it is on the Xbox One, and depending on the rig you have, how bad it would be on the PC. But you know, and those are things you expect, right? It's like, because there's way too much stuff going on. You know, it's like, wait, I got in a little argument last night on Twitter. It's like, there's too many gadgets now. So you got all this stuff going on, and then you got a building falling down. Well, it's surprising the game doesn't just jump out of your console and say, you know what, screw you, I'm done. You know,
That's
but
what happened in COD, didn't it? All the gadgets got added.
well, yeah, and that's what's happening in Battlefield. So
I think we can talk about all the gadgets like in a little while, because I have a really nice theory around rock paper scissors and where they went wrong with it.
yeah.
So we can take that later. But I've seen most of the reports that are coming in with this rubber banding and also dying around corners and so on is mostly related to the server. So the last time I had rubber banding, it was on a DICE test server that was run by a shitty computer.
Yeah.
He said that afterwards that that was why we had rubber banding in that instance.
Right, that makes sense.
So we were trying out some kind of network fixes on Sabod map.
So
And
do you think
it was a few months ago, and they had a live test server that people could join, and they advertised it on Twitter.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah. And they were still getting rubber banding?
Yeah, because of the server they ran it on was not quite strong. So I think the overall problem with rubber banding is some kind of resource management on the server side, because I think they've cheaped out on the servers this year around, and
because Eric was saying you never get rubber banding, do you? So before hardly. So when he was playing on this like especially shitty server, the rubber banding was really bad. So that's probably the cause of it, I think. Like what is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, and also if you look at the server providers they've been partnering with, it's been kind of hush hush and very centralized stuff where they put loads of virtual machines into the same server machines, and they all run on the same bandwidth, and they all have to put out all these packets in the right order, and they're colliding with each other and so on.
Like they're EA servers, right? And they probably go find like Joe Schmo's server, and say, here, we want to rent your servers off you. All right. When it Yeah, but it should be a standard server, and they should be just like PCs, like, because it is a PC really, and it with a bunch of whatever in there, but like every server, it should be made by the same company and whatever, and upgraded regularly. But the way it is now, it's like, oh, that server still works. It's 10 years old. I'm going to rent it off you, whatever.
And there's no, is it just me? But I can't find on my 16.16 millisecond ping, I can't find any servers at all running Conquest. I can only find Conquest Large. Now, is it me, or should there be Conquest in the game, or is Next Gen just Conquest Large?
I think the problem with the console version is that they have standardized sizes for all these kind of game modes. So you have Conquest Large, they say, oh, it has to be 64 players because that's what we advertise. And maybe there's a lot of people who think that it runs better with 48 players, including me, that's my personal opinion.
Well, they let us do that on Battlefield 3. I mean,
but
even before Rent a Server, they let us play. Play nearly everything, right?
When the Xbox One first came out, there was normal Conquest, and then it went to Conquest Large. and the normal conquest servers all disappeared.
Right.
So
And
they're
and then
not small also.
See, I can't find, for example, if I put on the, on normal hardcore and infantry, there's
yeah,
no infantry. If you put infantry on and then take off any sort of map, any map or mode, right, or if you put them all on, so you're gonna get everything, right, and if you
yep,
select infantry instead of normal, nothing comes up,
yep.
and it's, to me, that's like, what's the point in
That's
having the fucking tag there?
yeah.
No, they've got rid of a lot of their servers. So I think, and that's what a lot of people are waiting for. They want these rent servers so they can lower the player counts
But
and
it's
hopefully have a
disgusting.
better game.
Like, is nobody else like shocked? I don't know. I'm pretty like taken aback by that. Like, they expect us to pay again to play modes that we should be
No,
able to play.
I agree. I think we should be able to pick whatever server we want, and they should go by like start at 12 on 12 and work their way up in groups of five or even 15 on 15
There
because
should
there
be
are
at least
5-man squads. Or
one server empty. I had them on empty and full and everything in between. There wasn't one server I could join. Not full that I could sit in a queue in. Not with 0 people in. There wasn't a server hosted for infantry only games. What the fuck? Like, I should be able to sit and invite people in, like into the one lobby that's provided. That should be at least be provided as minimum. I should be able to find the one lobby that they should be providing and wait in the queue for half an hour. I know I'd be
I
unhappy then, but
I think they
I think
threw
that's
all their
disgusting.
I think they threw all their money, like all their servers are now just Conquest Large and Rush, and like even Air Superiority. You go look for a game, and it's like there's hardly any servers.
But I'm literally so taken aback that for some there's literally nothing at all. There's
Yeah,
literally nothing.
Yeah, the problem is that
It's
they
just
expect you to pay for that kind
yeah,
of minority service
yeah. It's
instead of just
disgusting.
providing it like they did in BF3 because
I'm literally
in
like,
BF3 we had all these nice servers with a variety of game modes and variety of player counts
yeah,
and also
yeah.
a
And
variety
if you if it, I
setups and you couldn't use more than maybe 5 snipers per team. So
I think it almost like if you really think about it in an evil kind of way,
yeah,
it's almost like they're making it so bad that when they finally do release private servers, everybody's going to buy one just so they can get away from this shit. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like,
that's marketing.
I
That's
agree.
yeah.
also
I don't want to get into that crazy conspiracy stuff. If you've seen our last podcast, you'll get that.
yeah, but there's also have you noticed with the Call of Duty franchises that they always try to keep one bad thing in the game before they release the next one,
Dum dum dum.
so they don't fix like some of the death streaks, and then they don't.
Yeah,
Then next game they say, "Oh, we don't have death streaks in this game."
Yeah.
They
yeah,
leave
yeah.
some kind of
Well,
really
that's a to remove
awful thing.
something like that is a major thing. Like if you like just let's say like if you did Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 and you remove the or Modern Warfare 2, I guess. Remove the like last stand grenade. That's a big animation that's removed from the game and it could probably cause a lot more harm than good.
Well, that's because of how they advertise it. They advertise all the new death streaks and the new
Yeah,
perks. It's like,
yeah, yeah,
but it's different with Battlefield's advertising. So
yeah.
you know,
I don't know.
Yeah,
Like
on the
when
other hand, if they advertise something, then they can't just take away something that they
well, yeah,
advertised. Except they did that with the grass physics in the servers. They did that
yeah,
with some of the features of the Frostbite engine.
yeah,
Like
exactly.
they
I was gonna
talked
say.
about.
I was just gonna say, well, no, because they could do that just now with the new grenade launcher that they've got. But again, they could, like you're just about to say, they could just change their mind on that. They've advertised it, like, would it be that bad if they took it out? Because they've taken all this shit out of Frostbite, as you were saying. They've taken all this stuff out of all the other stuff, the servers, and people aren't causing that much of a fuss.
No,
Like,
because it's not in the patch notes either.
yeah, exactly. It's all just like hidden away, like or just not mentioned. Like how many people have noticed that they can't play these game modes?
I think well people are just I think I would like to see I'd like to see them come out with the numbers, and you could probably find this somewhere. I just don't look, but of how many people are actually playing the game.
Oh, F4 thorough research.
Yeah, like you remember like you could like playing Halo or whatever. It tells you how many people are playing at any given moment, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like there's got to be something somewhere where I can see like even a graph that shows you how many people were playing Battlefield 4 at the beginning to now, and I bet you that number like it's gone way down. So to go to your point, Addison, of like how come nobody's complaining about these things? Well, it's because
There's
nobody's
no one
playing.
left to complain. Yeah, I
Yeah.
suppose.
It's like everybody's playing Naval Strike right now, and now they're like, you know what? I'm going back to Titanfall. Like
Well,
I'm a
that's
perfect example of
yeah,
me. I
yeah.
haven't even touched Naval Strike. I have Premium. I have the Xbox 360 version of Battlefield 4, the Xbox One version. I have Premium. I haven't even touched it since freaking well, even before Naval Strike came out. Ever since Titanfall came out. But
Yeah, honestly, the only reason I've been playing Naval Strike is not because of Naval Strike, it's because of the Naval Strike assignments. I want to get this fucking anti-air mine to see how fucked up it is.
yeah, and
Um,
it's not like I don't want to play it because I do. I really want to try it, but I know if
it's
I go back
bad, you
there,
don't.
I'm going to be so mad, and
Yeah,
because I waited this time and I saw the comments of people, I'm lagging, I can't fly a
don't
plane,
fucking get in a
I don't even
fucking
want to be in
large
this.
server
I'm like,
count.
I'm not even going in there, and I might just wait until they have rent a servers, because. And I'm not even like at first I wanted one. I'm like I want it. But now I'm like I don't even know if I want to give them my money.
Yeah.
You know?
I think I'm gonna play mostly carrier assault mode because it's actually quite similar to one of the modes that I suggested to. Do you know Dennis Bremval?
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Nice firewall.
So I sent him a message on LinkedIn quite a while ago, and we discussed some gameplay ideas and so on. And just the general concept of having a larger game mode that has smaller steps in it and escalating towards something cool in the end, like
Yeah.
in
No,
this
that game
Titan
type.
game mode.
Like
Yeah,
Titan, like Titan mode, like I think like we discussed last week or last 2 weeks ago. It's well, and like I've said on Twitter this last week, it's always going to be infinitely better on the old Battlefield version because of the things that they've taken out of it and things that they've copied that are fundamentally worse. So they've taken out like you were saying, Eric, earlier, the ending cinematic or the ending fight sort of sequence, the explosion sequence, and they've made things just like fundamentally worse than they were. For example, the places where you plant or what you're actually planting on, it's just an MCOM now. Instead of like yeah, it's placed in the engine room, but why not just have us with a little like it would have taken less effort to make it better. In the engine room of the carrier, instead of having an MCOM, just have a little box on the side of exactly where the MCOM is, on the side of the engine, where you hold it to arm it, and when you arm it, C4 appears on it. That would have been infinitely better than an MCOM, and it takes less effort. It's like, oh. Titan mode for me will always be better, and they could have made this. They had every single opportunity to make it a lot better, and they've wasted it. I don't think they can call this a good version of Titan mode, and I think it's supposed to be a version of Titan mode. I don't think it's supposed to be. I think it's Carrier Assault, and they're maybe trying to make it now like a different version or sorry, not a different version, like something separate. I think it is basically a version of Titan mode, which is shit. So
I
like
think they're trying to reuse as many assets as they can instead of making like new mechanics that they have to explain to people. Because I had this idea that you could maybe have some assets that you could destroy progressively with explosives, and then if there was a team of engineers that tried to repair it, then it could kind of bounce back. And if you had that kind of dynamic inside of these carriers, then it wouldn't be so linear and one-dimensional once
good.
you blow up the first MCOM and so on. But I think they just try to make it more familiar to
noobs.
to the other players, and especially those that maybe have played Titan mode before, so they don't know what they lost.
Yeah. Yeah. Very
It's that
depressing.
whole I'm trying to please everybody kind of thing.
Very depressive, basically. So, is there anything else, Eric, that you want to go over?
I don't know about these kind of service. I was planning to maybe make another one because I'm just looking for jobs right now, and I'm going through all these kind of mini projects that I'm working on. And if you want to see some kind of survey on specific subjects that you think it will be important in the future, then
Okay.
you could maybe
Bring
up some ideas, or maybe send me an email later.
Get in touch with you, yeah. So we've got obviously at Absol ABSOL_89. It also says your alias. I'm guessing this is on, like, for example, Battlelog. XPC_Absol.
Yeah.
Is that Battlelog? Would they find you on with that?
Yeah, exactly. And on Origin.
Origin, cool. And if they were to any other contact details you want to throw out there, email, anything else?
I think my Reddit is also XPC_Absol, so
Okay, so they can get you on
maybe
Reddit.
people use either Twitter or Reddit sometimes.
Cool.
If you want to ask me something.
And Geigers, is there anything else you want to ask Eric, or Eric, anything else you want to clear up with Geigers?
No, I just say that you're doing an excellent job. I've always loved your surveys, going from your first ones way back when I first met you. I think you're doing it.
And also I think you were one of the first people to help me spread it, actually.
Yep. No, it was my pleasure. I like when I first saw the survey, I'm like, oh, here's a guy asking a few questions, and then I looked at the survey, I'm like, holy man, this isn't just normal. This is a full-blown survey, and I was like very impressed. And I'm like, everybody needs to see this. And so we started spreading it around, and I did a couple of YouTube videos about it. But they're getting better and better, and I really do hope you get a job with DICE or even some video game company that, or something to do with gaming, and get people's attention with this. So keep up the good work, buddy.
Yeah, thank you.
So yeah, I just wanted to say thank you very much for your time, Eric. We really appreciate you taking time out of your day to speak with us and share your knowledge with the community. And
Yeah, sure.
I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, likewise. Have a good one. Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Cheers.